But resiliency is something that is definitely, it's almost like the punches are just as hard, but some way, somehow, they don't feel as impacting. It's Mike Tyson nailing you, but all of a sudden you've taken enough Mike Tyson hits to where you can handle it. The fancy word for the department you do for the Arizona firm is intake. That's fancy speak for you're the first person that people with a new case call in and talk to. Mm-hmm. And they call in and talk to you about their case, and you see if the firm can help them, if we're a good fit for them, and so on and so forth. You manage 3 to 4 different individuals that do this along with yourself. So I make 11 or 5, one of 2. So you've been doing this for what, 7, 8 years?
Almost 8.
Okay. What was the hardest call you took, and when was it?
I don't know if I want to talk about it.
Well, we're gonna, because we're here talking about it. So let's leave the names out of the scenario.
I don't remember the name
for the
of
not
it.
so innocent.
He ended up not being a client, but it was the hardest call. Well, I have a couple of different calls.
Right.
I have the most disturbing call, which is what I was thinking of, because I took the rest of the day off. That's the only time I ever done that. The second, but then the most emotionally hard, I have one off the top of my head. So which one are you asking about?
Nothing in particular.
Both hard, both different reasons.
Okay. Why do you find them hard? Why were they early on?
The case? Oh, yeah, they were both early, within the first year.
Okay. So the tragedy of when somebody needs an attorney that's practicing family law, or an attorney that practices in accidents, or an attorney that practices criminal law, all of these laws get messy.
Both of these are criminal cases.
And so you're remembering a couple of criminal tough ones.
Yeah.
Give us a little highlight of it.
I'll be quick with the first one. The first one, because I don't really want to, it's just more disturbing. It was hard because it was disturbing, but it's exactly what we deal with. And it kind of goes, it's the other side of the coin it's the worst of the worst. So it's what we deal with. You know, a gentleman who had been arrested for touching a 13-year-old boy inappropriately, who had been offered to him by his mother. And he called in because he was, needed an attorney. And so I spoke with him. That was the most disturbing call. He was very explicit, and he was very depraved in my head and my mind. He did not end up being a client, and I don't remember why. I don't remember why, but I don't even remember scheduling him as a consult. But the second one was the mother of somebody who had drunk and drove and hit someone, you know who I'm talking about, had hit someone and he didn't even know it. His story, talking to her, was very difficult because she's a mother.
Right. And he was in jail. And so she had to
He was in jail,
him.
yeah.
Yep.
And so those are, two different stories about mothers.
Right.
Wow, you really hit me cool
Yep.
with this. And she was a hard work. She was a regular woman like anyone else, and her son, who was a police officer at the time, he had come up out of a lot of, what's the word, like he'd kind of come out of a place, and kind of risen above circumstances that.
He was an alcoholic, and he had gotten clean for a time.
And he became a police officer, and he was doing very well. He had a son, about 10 or 11, I don't remember, and he was about 30. 30-something, I remember that. And his mom, and so her first call, she was not emotional as, but I felt.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from those 2 cases.
So these are the kind of calls you get today that don't shake you quite as much, but they're still being heard by the same ears. They're still being heard by you or your crew. And I've always been amazed at hearing how, one of your names at the end of maybe a 1.5 year representation, or 6 or 8 months of representation, and the only names that they drop are typically, yours and one of the attorneys, the staff. I'm proud of that because Arizona Grit has that. We can help you, but this is not. You're not alone in this. Like that response that I hit you with, had I prepared you and said, "Hey, we're going to talk about this," you'd have been thinking about 4,647 calls you took, in the last 6 months, what to talk about. But I kind of wanted it to be authentic in the sense that I was able to kind of observe this from afar because, some of us have been doing these types of things and it's seen, so we think we see it all type thing right up until, well, no, we haven't seen it all. And it's interesting that the aspect that somebody calls in and they're actually, you hear those commercials that say you have a friend in the diamond business or you have a friend in the tire business, you have a friend. They literally have a caring individual on the other end of that phone call. And I feel like that's what sets the Arizona firm apart. I really do. And it's an unsung piece of the puzzle so I was kind of explaining a minute ago that people remember your name. They remember Annie. They remember Summer. They remember Paige. They remember Noah. They remember your name. They remember the names of and I just wonder how the heck do you train and do you, because you're training all the time and you're all talking about stories all the time about, oh my gosh, this and that. And you're, how do we deal with this and how do we deal with that? Because this is real human suffering. I remember one of...
Okay, I was not expecting this conversation.
I remember one of your squad members, one of your teammates, your tribe, really struggling with... This was a personal injury case, and there was a death involved, and it was, the mom's fault, or partially the mom's fault, and they were talking to that mom because she wanted to get
death. I don't remember this.
It was a couple of years ago.
Was it who died? Was the mom or one of the kids?
One of the kids.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And so. And that was a hard call for that mom to make and to see what was what. And so,
oh my gosh,
we're dealing kind of with some scrambled situations that are kind of tough. I frankly was expecting plenty of other cases other than those two that I remember well. I remember your response.
True. I think you did give me that. Yeah, that was a deeply disturbing conversation.
I remember the response. Fast forwarding a year and some change, and the way that you train intake and the way that you address your tribe is that they have to be in a mentally and emotionally strong place to be able to take these particular scenarios. And so you encourage them to be active, you encourage them to be about something. This has nothing to do with work, but it has everything to do with work. All at the same time. What made you come to that realization? What made you come to that?
Myself, I lived it first. I was the only intake for a long time, a year, maybe almost 2. But I had been much heavier. I think you remember. I'm probably 60 pounds heavier than I am now, or 50
we got
at
married
least.
Then.
Yeah, that's when we got married. Yeah, and but. I mean, taking on that, I felt at the same time as it being hard, I felt involved in a sacred purpose or a higher purpose for the first time in a long time. My personal place, where I was legally at that time so I had a lot of compassion and a lot of insider understanding for a lot of the, I could relate on their level. Not all the criminal cases, but some, or, with what I'd been facing. And I just understood the worst time of someone's life. And I was past that. But then, so taking this on, I'd felt deeply responsible and part of something really great and something really unique. But it was taxing. So I didn't want to drop it, but it's hard, it became hard. I wanted to enjoy the rest of my life. And so I improved my own lot, my own stand, what I could control. And so walking, working out, eating better for my body allowed me to handle, and my mind, and taking, more spirituality into making spirituality more part of my being and part of my life and every day. I decided to take that. I decided, to step into that type of thing, and it allowed my spirit, mind, body, spirit, to handle the weight along with the importance of what we do. It has to be mindful. If I'm not, then it's too heavy.
I think that everybody out there can see the sincerity that you had at the beginning there when I hit you cold with that question. But resiliency is something that is definitely, it's almost like the punches are just as hard, but some way, somehow, they don't feel as impacting. It's Mike Tyson nailing you, but all of a sudden you've taken enough Mike Tyson hits to where you can handle it. There was a case. What
did you think I was going to say? I wonder what case.
There was a case 5 or 6 years ago wherein it would have brought you to your knees early on. You would have taken more than a day or two off. And the allegations were abysmal. And it was a father, and it was a daughter, and the accusations of what the father had done to the daughter were really, yeah. I mean, you can't make this kind of stuff up. And we've got zip ties, we've got sex toys, we've got a whole room dedicated to some sort of really weird, twisted voodoo stuff.
It's evil.
Yeah. And all videoed and all this and that and the other. And so it's pretty...
we're defending, and I mean, so it's clear we're defending and try. I mean,
yeah.
And everyone just, we believe in that. Everyone deserves. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough
but
case
there are some that are
to
hard.
handle for sure, and it's just not one that...
That's true.
I mean, most people think burn in hell, and frankly, I don't blame them for thinking that. I don't, but we have this legal system that sometimes kind of run... Because we had a client that said none of that happened. None of that, all of it was made up. All of it was made up. And
right.
So through time, we found,
we found that some are not guilty.
Yeah.
There are a lot that are not guilty or are, right? I mean...
I wouldn't say a lot. That's a strong use of that word.
I guess I'm thinking over the 25 years that you've practiced, there's more than you would... It's eye-opening, probably. There's some, I guess.
The firm manages cases wherein there are some. One came across the desk the other day. Brian's running this one. And you said, Brian needs to run this one. And I love that because you're like, okay, I want this person. And you're like, who's what, where, and needs to be.
That's part of intake job,
it's kind of
really.
Cool. You're like, Brian needs to handle this one. And Brian's running this sucker down. And the individual is screwy as a road lizard. And that was kind of evident on your phone call. You like could see that, okay, if I pulled over this guy, I think he was impaired. Mm-hmm. But his blood came back as you suspected, which is funny. You have one phone call with him and you're like, no, Brian needs to, and the notes were like, this guy's going to be innocent. This guy's going to be innocent. And it's like, okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
Because everybody comes in innocent on some level.
Yeah.
But that said, you push that one through, and lo and behold, there was just 0 in his blood, 0 in his breath, a zero burger. Mm-hmm. And so the often aggressive Gilbert police that love to write themselves a DUI kind of swung and missed on this one.
What's that saying? In the often competitive business of...
ferreting out crime.
What's the end?
In the often, it's Justice Cardoso, way back in the 30s, 40s, in the often competitive business of ferreting out crime, corners will be cut.
Right. And each individual deserves a fresh look and the benefit of the doubt, which is what we guarantee in the Constitution, and
you're going
defense.
Constitution.
Yes. Well...
whether they deserve it or not, it's due process, and that is their right.
Yes.
Their inalienable right of due process.
Their right. That's what I mean.
And so...
right that we believe, and we do believe in that. But some are harder to anyway.
Some of the situations are rough. And so you elected to get resilient, and you were elected to be more emotionally strong and physically strong. And I mean, you dropped 60 pounds. That's kind of a...
I had some things to live for now and purpose, work to do, or the work to be part of.
So I just thought that would be our message today, because life's not going to get easier as we move along. And it's good to be prepared for it. It's good to be strong for it. It's good to
As
hit
best
it.
you can. Yeah.
It's good to give the wind that's at your face a run for its money. And so I just kind of figured, seeing it firsthand, and then I just wondered, how the Sam are you capable of somehow sharing that with your tribe, with your intake squad that answers the phone, because they're all brilliant.
They're very good.
And
well, I've been lucky. It's been more of a luck, but I also know them, or
so it's in the screening process.
I think so.
It's in the getting to know them and to seeing if they have the it factor.
I guess, yeah. If they're open, if they're open to a different perspective, they're open to treating that person like a host. If they're the hostess luckily we have people who have a life experience, and they have, and they're interested, and so basically I just kind of, I think, they give them the how-tos, what we need on the calendar, the exact, and then let them be themselves, because that's the most important thing.
Yeah. So you don't have like a club that has everybody rollerblading with you?
No.
Because I don't know if everybody out there knows, but you're a rollerblading slasher.
A rollerblading fool.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Fool.
Oh, yeah, fool.
You're a rollerblading fool.
Rollerblading fool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Roller fool. Skate fool.
It's an inside joke. She's a skatey fool.
Yeah.
And so you rollerblade, and you lift weights early morning, and most mornings.
That's it, mister. Okay. Yes, I try at least 3 times a week.
Well, there's a couple of, at least 3 times a week. Look.
Yeah, at least, but I'd like to do 5 or 6. I mean, that's the goal.
I feel like it's interesting to look at, because we had an attorney here for years, and big part of our firm, great attorney, and an absolutely fantastic friend, and went on to do their own thing, and has been in and out of multiple different firms, and always leaves those firms better than he found them. And his story is interesting to me, because he called me just out of the blue the other day, and we were talking, and he just said, there's nothing like the Arizona firm. There's nothing like it. From start to finish, everybody that touches that football, everybody that touches that case, touches it in a way that advances it, and in a way that just, it's unique to the Arizona firm.
Even for any other business. I mean, I've never even heard of the type of thing that we have here, and you can't put a finger on what it is.
It's pretty cool. I did enjoy that. I don't do compliments very well, that firsthand. But that was something that kind of stuck. It was like, oh wow, that was a nice thing to say.
Yeah.
Wow, we are fortunate, but it is, frankly, because of that resiliency that you did on your own. And that culture kind of bleeds throughout.
You're a big help to that. You're a big proponent of that. I have good examples in my own life, but I never looked at it like that exactly.
Yeah,
completely. But
if
health
we can't,
being part of.
Yeah, if we can't take care of what's staring back at us in the mirror, if we can't care for that and love that, then it's tough to bring that to a case, to a tragedy, and so in baseball. In baseball, you got your relief pitchers, okay, your bullpen. And they often say they're bringing a gas can to the mound, which means that the mound had fire on it. Whomever was pitching was getting lit up, okay, was getting hit hard. And the reliever comes in and brings the gas can, makes the fire worse. And, they went from, 4 runs being scored on to 12 before you blink. To bring that into how the Arizona firm rolls is we're tight. and we're resilient, and every person here is engaged in the betterment of the cause.
Yes.
And so the clients get a far better experience, even though the experience they're going through is a tough one.
The toughest. I can't think of a tougher thing.
Sometimes the toughest, for sure. I mean, and sometimes they're not, life altering, but they're still scary. They're still, it's still an unknown. It's still, okay, am I a criminal, or okay, I'm going to be divorced? And that's a
divorce
scary
is the
thought.
worst. Yeah.
Most people would rather be diagnosed with cancer than go through, have to go through a divorce. I mean, it's
gut wrenching. It's gut wrenching.
You've got
for a long time.
Families, two different families involved, children oftentimes.
Yes.
You've got all sorts of lives being literally negotiated. And so
broken down,
yeah.
split up, and renegotiated completely.
And to kind of be able to lead out in that tragedy, and to find and to have that desire you have to, okay, we can help.
We hold their hand. I mean, we can hold their hand. We can grab their hand.
Yeah.
Grab the hand that's extended, or look them in the eye and smile and see them and make them feel normal for a moment, and then lead them to the lead out, who is not us, but we can hold their hand that way and be the.
You get them in the right hands.
Correct.
And you get them situated to where they feel for the first time. You mentioned in the last pod that you smiled for the first time during a very difficult time of your life, and you've seen that happen by the way you treat folks that call in looking for help legally. I just think that's cool. And to throw out there in the universe that it's important to look in that mirror and to be strong enough to where you can take on those blows that life will throw your way.
Yep.
Now,
have
hopefully,
hope.
And the hope is to never need a law firm like the Arizona firm. You never want to go through a divorce.
No.
It's not what you signed up for when you got married.
No.
You don't want to get in a car accident. That's not what you were thinking on when you started the motor that morning.
And you don't want to have a child who makes some bad decisions and ends up being, and sometimes, or yourself, you don't want to make that choice to become an alcoholic, step by step or whatever. There's so many things, and everyone knows someone.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But you
life's full of fractures, and
to protect yourself and then your family. But that's the order, isn't it? I mean, it's yourself. Rise up and be resilient so you can help.
Yeah, lift where you stand. I love it. That's all I wanted to pot about today.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for this. This is a good reminder. It was a good.
Am I going to be regretting this later?
No, I'm glad I Interesting.
I just thought it was super cool to watch, from having to take the rest of the day off to being able to take 15 of those calls, no problem. Yet I do know there's the emotion in each one of them.
There was, but that one gentleman, there was this, and it was probably the time. I was probably bad timing. I just remember taking the call, and he would not stop describing things like that I did not need to know. And I told him, don't tell me this, like this, I'm gonna get you with the attorney. He's gonna have you repeat it anyway. At first I was polite, but it was a very, I don't even know. And what the heck am I doing? I don't want to hear this, I can't.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but like I said, through time, it has been.
Yeah.
They still affect.
Yes.
Those stories still affect, but they don't override. They don't take over.
Yeah, I can leave it. I can leave it to an extent.
Once it's in the hands that you're comfortable with, you have let it go. I mean, it's an interesting thing. And same with the rest of your tribe. They get it to where it needs to go, and they feel confident. There's that confidence. There's that smile. Yeah, all right, you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once they're in, really rough, Jessica's our fire putter outer, along with, Taya and Becky. You don't get a better squad than that.
No, you don't.
And somebody going through a real painful divorce, just straight talk and really good quality, and to know that that's what they're going to get, and you're the one saying, hey, you're going to be good here.
Oh, yeah.
And almost excited for them that yeah, life is really crappy right now, but
Oh,
here's your
yeah.
umbrella. I know it's raining, but here's
Yep.
your umbrella.
Here's your umbrella, and I've used this before myself. Is a really powerful thing for me. I sell it from my soul. It's not selling. It's because I'm
Yeah, you
happy
lived it.
for them that they're gonna have that same experience I had
Yeah.
here. If anyone remembers how I got here from the last pod we had.
So yeah, all you got to do is look yourself in the mirror, drop 60 pounds, start lifting weights, rollerblading like a fool, and no problem.
Yeah.
Take
Take
a big old chance on a wingnut like me and move along.
And my 3 kids went to 7, and we juggle, and
Only 4 of them are my fault.
and now they're my fault, and I love them. No, we've been blessed. It's a blessing. But
Yeah, Ben. All right. Till we meet again.